Howdy. My name is Roger. I love my country, my truck, and Power Platform best practices. If you're serious about becoming a Power Platform solutions architect, join the Architects Accelerator. Now enough of my fake Southern accent, and let's hear from an actual participant of the program, Anna Black.
Hi, I'm Anna Black. I'm the creator of Power Platform Cookbook. I joined the Architects Accelerator because I saw a post from Magdalena and she was so positive and inspired me to join and see what it's all about. Before joining the accelerator, I was avoiding AI. And then when I saw how to apply AI and practice like soft skills, and it just like it really opened my mind to try different things for myself with different tools and everything. It really helps you to evaluate what you know and what you don't know, because when you are doing your job for like so many years, you might be missing a trick and like a different approach. So it really helped me to look at the problems from a different angle. And it was really great to meet with people and be like a part of another community and exchange ideas and so on. So yeah, lots of benefits that did change my life. So thank you.
The link is in the show notes, or go to untethered365.com to learn more.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is John Russell, apparently, and I'm here with my co-partner crab in crime, Mike Gowland. Say hello, Mike.
Yeah.
You are awful at copy and paste, John.
I'm doing real bad at the copy and paste. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Today, we're thrilled to have Charles Sexton with us. Charles is a senior Power Platform consultant at Bridgel. He shares his insights and experience on his blog, Charles Sexton, and is also active on LinkedIn. Charles has a unique background, having lived in Uganda as a child and transitioning from aspiring to be a rock star to becoming a Power Apps expert. Welcome to the podcast, Charles. How are you?
Thanks, Mike. Very good, thank you. I noticed that bit about the intro and I thought, should I say anything or should I not? But I'm glad I didn't. So yeah, you are John, and then Mike is. Yeah, it's swapped. It's all good.
we're kind of interchangeable at times. So yeah. Thanks a lot, Charles, for coming on the podcast. You've had quite a journey from living in Uganda as a child, getting into Power Platform. Can you share a bit of that story and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I think the reason why the Uganda element is relevant is because it's quite a formative period of my life. So my mum and dad moved myself, my older brother, my younger sister, over to Uganda before I was 6 years old. So just before I was turning 6 years old. And we were there for 4 years. And it was a crazy time. And it basically just changed everything, like we were just normal British children, but then suddenly thrust into this African lifestyle. And then when we were brought back to the UK, for myself and my brother, because we had already experienced, because we were older than my sister, basically, there was this transitionary period yet again when we arrived back in the UK, where we had to adjust to British culture and British lifestyle. And I was thinking about it, and I ended up going to 5 different primary schools. So I was chopping and changing a lot. So these friendships that I would build up in a primary school, I would then get moved on to another, and I would lose my friendships because it would be a completely different location. And it was very difficult to find some consistency in life because of that. And I think that all of that then impacted upon where I went with my career and how much confidence I had to do different things. So I'll take you through the career perspective now, which is where when I was probably around 14 years old, I really got into music. So I started learning to play guitar. There was this game for the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, called Music 2000. And on that game, on that game, you could write music. So you could tap in the notes with your controller, and it was really cool. It was like a kind of basic Cubase type of thing. And I loved it. And I wrote so many songs on there. And at the same time, I was learning to play guitar and then singing while I was playing guitar and recording that as well. And so I got really, really into music. But probably when I was about 15 or 16, I started finding out a bit more about technology and seeing the things that you could do in Microsoft Excel. And then in my IT GCSE lessons, I got introduced to web design. And I found that really interesting, how you could just write a bit of code and then inside your web browser, you would then see the result of that turned into something graphical. I thought that was very clever. So I got excited about that as well. So it was like this transitionary period of me being really passionate about music, and then throughout the later teenage years that decreased gradually and the increase in technology passion came through. But I did end up working for a recording studio when I was 18 years old. And so with that recording studio, I was thinking, okay, I'm still doing my music career. I want to be a songwriter or something like that. I wasn't too sure. But in the in the recording studio, I ended up doing lots of technology things. So I got more and more into web development, and I started building web apps for them. So, like for managing the jobs that they would have, so kind of scheduling for the recording studio. I also built what I think was potentially the first music and DVD download store, because I didn't know of any others at the time. So people could visit it, they could register for an account, and then they could purchase DVDs and download them. Of course, the internet connections back then were pretty slow, but it worked. And it was an interesting technical challenge as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, so I was just doing more web app stuff with them and less of the music. And the job kind of turned sour. My boss wasn't really the nicest person, and my lifestyle wasn't great because I was basically just working, and I had no friends in that area because I'd only just moved there, and I wasn't really sure how to get out and about, and I had this kind of social confidence issue because of moving around so much and maybe naturally who I am. So I decided to leave that job, and I knew I needed to do something else. I knew I needed a change. So I decided crazily to go off and start trying to sell windows and doors. So my mum and dad had done that in the past, and I thought that's a good way to give myself confidence, just thrust myself into something that is a huge challenge for me and will make me feel very uncomfortable, but should be a way to grow personally. And when I chose to do it was actually just after I passed my driving test. So I had only just passed that at the same time I needed to drive to these random locations that were potentially quite far away. At the time, I was living in Surrey, so I was in the south of the UK, next to London, but I was actually having to go to potential clients in London. And I didn't have a sat nav at the time. So I was there in the office opening up a big map book and trying to plan out the journey and memorize every road and every turning, and then have to try and do that journey from memory. So it was crazy. And then
you could have been a black cab driver then.
Maybe that was my calling. But so somehow I managed to do that for a few weeks, but I realized that morally I just wasn't happy with it because I was being sent off to people who clearly couldn't afford to pay, and my boss wasn't accepting when I was saying that they can't afford this is not the right thing for them. He was trying to pressure me into still trying to sell to them. So yeah, very uncomfortable for me. So I left that. And then I ended up falling into an energy consultancy job, which was the majority of my career. So my mum was dating someone at the time. So she divorced my dad when I was 18, and I was now probably around 21, 22, something like that. And she was dating someone who had an energy consultancy company. I was looking for a job. So he said, yeah, come and do some stuff for me and see what comes of it, basically, whether I find some other job in the meantime. So I was doing that part-time, and I was building web applications for them, and I ended up bringing a lot of value to the business. So he wanted me on full-time permanently. And so then I ended up doing that job, so kind of half energy consultancy and half web development over the next almost 15 years. And 2 years before I left that job, he decided to sell the company. And the person he sold it to, they were more modern thinking, and they saw that we were using Microsoft for several things. So they were like, let's just use more of the Microsoft technology stack. This makes sense, right? So he came up to me and he said, here's Dynamics 365. We need a CRM. Can you look into it? Can you get us to use it? Do what you need to do. So I went off and started looking into it, and I thought, yeah, this is really cool. And I implemented Dynamics 365 customer service. And at the same time, I can't remember how, but I found out about Power Apps, and I started using it, and I just thought, this is amazing. It's like web development, but slightly different. And it's very fun to do. So you can get results really quickly, and it scratched every itch that I needed scratched, if that makes sense. I found it really exciting and I was passionate about it.
Do you know one thing that I heard through all of that, and I think, it really resonated with me because, especially with the part that you talked about going to Uganda, and then coming back, and then you were moving between schools. Do you feel like the reason, one of the main reasons why you're so passionate about Power Platform is because of the community element?
I think that's been an added benefit to it. So I wasn't aware of the community element initially. I just
Yeah,
thought that Canvas apps were really cool. But then the more and more I got into it, yeah, the community side has been this added bonus that is now something that's huge for me. Definitely.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
happy with it.
yeah. And do you think that has really tapped into that kind of basic human need that you needed kind of back then when you were moving between different schools? Do you think that has filled that gap a bit?
Yeah, yeah, it has. My life has been revolutionized since around that time because I found my wife around that kind of time, maybe just a year before finding Power Platform. So I found her first and then found Power Platform and then found the community within Power Platform. And my life is better than it's ever been because of those things. And yeah, it's just been an amazing transformation to look back at just the
Yeah,
last, say, 3 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Thanks, Charles. Cheers.
So I've got this question here, but I think you've basically covered it. So we were going to ask about the fact that you've transitioned from wanting to be a rock star, as in you've been into music, to then being a Power Platform expert. Was there any inspiration that you've taken from your time doing music that you've been able to apply to your career within Power Platform?
Maybe not necessarily music, but the creative element, definitely. I consider myself a very creative person, but also a very logical person. And I find that I enjoy both of those equally. And the creative side from music, definitely. I'm very excited about user interfaces and user experiences. And it all kind of goes hand in hand with the creative element, I think. So whether it's creating something audibly or creating something visually, to me, I enjoy both of them.
And I
Well,
guess the creativity side spurs on the logical side as well. So you have your creative part of your brain is thinking of something really cool to do, and the logical side is then breaking that down and actually putting those piece blocks into place
sequencing.
to make sequencing it, to use a
Yeah,
music analogy.
it's a really interesting idea. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, it's like the creative element is going wild, and then my logical side is going, "Hey, hold on a second, let's put this into something that makes sense."
Nice, nice. So I know you're a solution architect. Obviously, in our job, everything moves so fast. But where do you see our careers heading in the future? Like, if you could kind of pop yourself, maybe. I mean, it changes all the time. But say 3 years from now, like, what do you reckon? What do you reckon we're going to be doing? Do you reckon we're going to be still in this kind of ecosystem, like Power Platform space? Do you think things have moved on? I find that kind of like a bit interesting, and like, how
Mm.
long term are these careers?
Yeah, it's a great question. And maybe I'm not the best person to answer it. Maybe it's more someone higher up in Microsoft, but I'll give you my perspective on it, which is that obviously we're seeing AI introduced all over the place. And people are looking for uses for it and they're finding them. And then in other places, they're experimenting and maybe not quite finding where it hits the right note, using a music analogy again. So as far as all of that's concerned, I think we'll probably be in a similar position in 3 years' time, but the way that we're using technology will have advanced. So maybe we'll be doing less of the menial tasks and they'll be more automated. And we'll probably have kind of quick starts. So like with the Copilot generation of a Power App, at the moment it's okay-ish, but it's not really going to do too much for you. But in 3 years' time, I'm sure that will have come along leaps and bounds. No doubt we'll still have issues with it and we'll be complaining about it in some ways. But I think really it's just that AI is going to start making our lives just that bit easier. Whether we're going to still be considering ourselves as doing the same kind of job, I think probably yes. I think things will just have moved on that little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's the consulting core skills. I think are always going to be needed, and I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of that can be replaced by AI. Really, I don't think so.
It's interesting what you were saying about obviously where we can generate power apps with Copilot, and it's basically
Yeah.
to put it lightly. I think it will get better, but then I think the essence of the product is Copilot. So, will it ever is it ever going to get to a point where it's going to create the full app for us? I don't think so, and I don't think it's ever intended to. And I think
No.
it's that springboard to get you like 3 steps into the app development process rather than starting from step 0.
Yeah, so it can create something simple, but the moment that you start to add a little bit of complexity, that's where it falls down.
Yeah.
And they're just going to move that barrier a bit further away so that, it'll be able to do things a little bit more complicated, but consultants or developers will always be needed. Like if we think about the user interface and the user experience, you can generate some things, but will that really be the optimal user experience? Most likely not.
No. And that's where you still need to be an expert, and you need to take the reins from the Copilot sometimes to craft that into what it needs to be, right? And I think that's kind of the way AI has always been pitched, but I don't think that's the way people always perceive AI to be, and they assume that it's going to be doing everything for us, but actually that's not really the optimal way to use it.
Yeah, we hear the word co-pilot so much, don't we, that we forget that co-pilot means that it's your co-pilot. It's someone who's next to you, helping you with whatever you're doing. They're not taking over from you. They're your assistant.
That's quite an interesting take on that, Charles, what you just said, because like co-pilot is a noun and a verb, right? Noun because it's the name of the product, verb because you use it to do something. But actually what you just said then is pretty important, that maybe the word co-pilot is actually being normalized because we are using it so much that it's actually being changed more from the verb to the noun.
It's actually misleading now that you've put it that way, because co-pilots do take over from the pilot.
Yeah, I know.
Because on the long haul flight, the pilot goes to
autopilot.
Co-pilots do as well.
We just blame Mike's mic.
No, you're not blaming Mike. No. A co-pilot will take over flying the plane from the pilot. Whether you use an autopilot or not is irrelevant. So actually, maybe it is the wrong analogy for the product.
Should be PA instead, but it's not as catchy.
Yeah, should be air traffic control. Should be flight steward. If they could bring me a coffee while I'm working, that'd be great. That's all I need.
Mike's going to put you on the spot with the next question now, and we're looking. Yeah, go on, Mike.
If you could form a rock band with any figures from the tech industry, who would you choose and why? And do you actually like rock music?
I love rock music. Yeah,
great.
Rock music's my number one, but I do enjoy everything. Yeah, So it would be a rock band, of course. We have to go that way. And
I can play synth if you need anyone.
Okay. So we've got our synth player sorted. So that's good.
I could be like a hype man. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, cool. So we're already forming the rock band. I think Charles Lamanna would be quite cool as a drummer. When I look at him and I imagine him playing drums, I think that he would look really good playing drums. I think he fits with it. So maybe we'll get him in doing that. And he's very important to us. So we need to keep him close. So I think that's a good idea. I know that April Dunham sings and she writes and records music.
Oh, yeah, nice, yeah.
So let's bring her in as a singer. I've never heard her music. So I'm thinking maybe she's like an Evanescence style singer in our rock band, that kind of thing. And then I'll play guitar because why not? I have to do something in the band. And then we'll bring in a bass player. So we'll use maybe someone like Scott Giroux as a bass player, because I think you need to have someone with wacky hair. He just needs to keep dyeing his hair. So keep dyeing it bright colours, and then he's allowed to stay in the band.
I reckon Nick Dolman would be a good bass player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or drummer. Yeah, power lifter, strong arms.
Actually, to be fair though, we should probably big up one of our own solution architects, as he is actually a drummer. So Chris Toff.
Oh yeah. Okay, so maybe Chris Toff's on drums, if you know.
Yes, I know him. Yeah. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that, and he fits in with the rock element so perfect.
Yeah,
Does, yeah.
he does. Yeah.
He's
And
gonna love it.
he's really good at playing "Sex on Fire" by Kings of Leon. It's his favourite song.
Cool.
I've also heard he really likes playing Mustang Sally by the Commitments as well.
Poor
You
guy.
heard it here first.
So-
His mind's gonna be blown. He's not mentioned on the podcast.
He's gonna think, oh, they're talking about a band, and then he's gonna get like 10 minutes in, and then he's realised, oh, there you go. Now we've chosen him. Charles, as you probably know, we have this part on the podcast called Uncomfortable Corner.
Yeah.
I wasn't
I know
ready
it well.
for that.
Uncomfortable corner.
So, Charles, what
If
we
you
want to know?
if you need like a medical certificate after that or anything like that,
Yeah,
if you're
it'd be a
traumatized
bit
by the
like-
scream,
yeah.
we can hand that out at the end of the episode.
I'm already scared and uncomfortable.
Brilliant. That's how we like it rolling into this question. So, yeah. Have you ever felt uncomfortable in or out of work? And if you could give an example and maybe how you coped with it and maybe what you learned, I think you
Yeah.
can apply next time.
Many times I felt uncomfortable. Again, I don't know if this goes back to the whole moving around a lot and nurture versus nature. I'm not sure which part of it is, but yeah, in social situations, if I don't know people, then I will tend to feel uncomfortable. I'm quite happy one-on-one or in smaller groups, but if I'm in a larger group of strangers, yeah, I feel uncomfortable, and there's no getting around it. And since November of 2023, I've been doing talks, so public speaking, partly because I wanted to test it out, and partly because I thought it would be a good thing confidence-wise, and it would help me to just grow as a person and professionally. But after doing the first couple of talks, I thought, wow, this is so cool. I'm really enjoying this. So I've been doing it since. So every month since, actually. So I think I've done 9 talks now, something like that. So yeah, my uncomfortable thing that I was going to originally say was when I went to the ANS offices in Manchester, and it was for a talk, and traffic was really bad. So I arrived just in time to do my talk. And I walked into the room and I was expecting to see, I don't know, 15 or 20 people, something like that. But it was more like 40 or 40 plus people. So there's a bit of shock there. And I looked at the faces and I saw recognizable, reputable people from the community. And I was thinking, wow, this is quite scary. But as soon as I started talking, for some reason, it always ends up feeling like you're just talking to friends, and it feels comfortable once you get going, once you've got that rhythm, unless you have this thing in the back of your mind where you suddenly start thinking, oh yeah, I'm talking to 40 people. This is scary. So it's important just to get in the flow and stay in the moment. But since then, since I was thinking about answering this question, I actually had something else come up, which was at the European Power Platform Conference. And I was a speaker there. And we had this speaker drinks event that happened before the actual event occurred. So that evening, I was with one of your colleagues, with Craig White, and we walked to the event and everything was going well. I was enjoying myself, love spending time with Craig. And I was talking to different people. But at some point in the evening, I ended up not having anyone left to talk to because people had just wandered off and stuff like that. And so then I felt really uncomfortable because I was thinking, well, everyone's talking to everyone else. I can't see a group where I feel like I could comfortably just walk into it. And for some reason, I'm not feeling confident enough to just go up and start talking to people. So I just went to the bar, got myself a drink, and I just stood there and I was thinking to myself, right, just relax, stay calm, just be a people watcher for now and just try and absorb and take in the moment and not worry about things. So there's this kind of conflict in my mind and with my feelings there, trying not to feel uncomfortable, but I was clearly feeling very uncomfortable. And I was just thinking, can someone please just approach me and start talking to me? Because I need this.
Do you think, Charles, that made you feel a little bit worse, where you were kind of very conscious that you felt uncomfortable? And then you were,
Yeah, I guess I got too much in my own head at that point. And I did end up, like, I was standing at the bar. I saw there was another guy standing near the bar. He wasn't talking to anyone. A guy called Johan, really lovely guy. So I ended up talking to him and we had a long chat and it was really nice. And after chatting to him, then I went back to my hotel room when people were still doing things, because I didn't want to go to sleep too late because I knew I had my talk the next day. And so I felt okay after having that chat with him. But that moment has stayed with me, of course, since. And that's my most uncomfortable moment, probably in the past few years since I've been doing Power Platform.
I completely get that as well. I get the same. There's a massive group of people, and if I don't find myself talking to somebody, I can't go into a group that's already established, and so it just stops me from doing that. And it's funny, it actually happened to me at the weekend. I went for my first group cycle ride, and we were all supposed to meet at this coffee shop in Southampton. And I was sat in the coffee shop in full lycra and saw other people walk in full lycra, and knew fully well that was the group I was supposed to go into, but I didn't go over. And I was just like, please just come over and ask if I'm part of this group, right? So I don't have to make the first move.
It's that initial step, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I find that I really relate to what you're saying there, Charles. Like, sometimes I find that in situations where I'm with people that I know, and everyone's kind of talking to everyone else, and I'm like, shall I stay? Shall I go? Like, yeah. It's not awkward, is it? It is uncomfortable. That is really.
It's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable, not awkwardness. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if anyone. Sorry,
go on, Charles.
I was just going to say, I think if anyone saw me at the bar, they would have thought I was fine, because I tried to make it look like I was fine. It's just internally things were in turmoil at that moment.
Yeah.
I can also relate to the traffic going to the Fusion office as well.
Yeah.
That road is horrible.
It's not easy to get there. I actually tried getting there last night because there was an event. And I started driving, and my sat-nav told me that I was going to be there 20 minutes after it started. So I thought, do I really want to do that and feel uncomfortable with turning up halfway through? And no, I didn't. So I called my wife and I said, do you want to do something? And so, we ended up going off shopping and doing different things together. So it ended up being a nice evening, but traffic wasn't great.
Nice. Well, Charles, thank you very much for coming along today and speaking. I really appreciate it. And we both appreciate it. And also, obviously speaking really candidly about your uncomfortable corner and your background and stuff. I really appreciate that. So you can find Charles on LinkedIn and on his website, charlessexton.com. Links to resources mentioned in this episode will be in the show notes. Music today was provided by our good friend Ken Lightfit, and you can find his music on Spotify, the link to which you can find in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss the next episode, and we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a follow on LinkedIn. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you very much. This has been Sprint Zero. We've been Mike Gowland. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye, Mike.
Charles Sexton. Say goodbye, Charles.
Goodbye, everyone.
And I'm John Russell. We'll see you on the next episode of Sprint Zero. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Love you, Charles.
All right, thanks, guys.
Love you, John.
Love you, Mike.
Me, this is awkward.
Mike, he didn't say love you.
I'm Sean. I run the Architects Accelerator. It's an 8-week training program to help you become a solutions architect. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how awesome it is. We're just going to hear from previous participants.
My name's Mike Colling.
My name is Sander.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Luke.
Hi, I'm Callum. I work as a senior functional consultant.
I signed up for this because it sounded something that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
And that's what I liked about this course, is that we were focusing about taking the right requirement and proposing to the customer the right solution.
It's showing how to use the whole platform and how to build better solutions that could last a long time.
I don't have a background in software, and given that it's changing so fast every single day, I needed a guided way of learning. If the solution architect is the direction I want to go, I have taken something from every day of those classes and have applied them to my work.
Found it really useful and really enjoyed it.
Use promo code SPRINT0 to get $50 off.